I am now going to explain how I created my game. So, on the Scratch website, you can hit create. You then should select a background. I chose the underwater background because I like the sea and I also work at a maritime school. So once you have the background, you have to start with the sprites. So I downloaded sprites, saved them from already being made, but I'll explain the scripts on each one of them. So every time you create a sprite, you have the opportunity to save it and use it in another project. These are my 3 sprites. These are the only 3 sprites that we'll have. So we have the number line, the ladybug who moves across the number line, and the bat who's going to give what you need to do. So let's start talking about the scripts. There's many different things that you can see that you can do. This first one, when you click the green flag, the game will start. So what you want to do is you want to show the ladybug. That's what the show is for. These are variables that I created that are going to have data within them. So the current position is where the ladybug is going to be. You want that to be 0, and the random number that gets picked to also be 0. I'm also choosing the x and y coordinates for the ladybug. So for the ladybug to be at 0, its x coordinate's -6 and its y coordinate is going to be 60. As you can see, the different variations of when you change y and how it relates to where the ladybug is on the screen. We now have to figure out how to move this ladybug. So we want it to just go one spot on the number line each time. So we have to figure out how many actual pixels or x's it is moving. So to go from 0 to -1 or 0 to 1, we figured out at the bottom that it moves 21 pixels or 21 steps. So we want the ladybug, every time we hit the arrow, depending on which way we hit the arrow to go, we want it to move 21 steps in that direction. So when whatever you want it to be is pressed, you have to move 21 steps. Here I made a little mistake. I need to change it to the right angled arrow to move 21 steps. The left arrow is going to move -21 steps, so that's when we're going back on the number line. Now we'll talk about another thing when it has to do with the number line. So when the green arrow flag again is pressed, we want the number line to show. Again, we want the current position to equal 0. The answer, so what we get out of the movement of the ladybug, to be 0, and the score, since we are starting a new game, to also be 0. Once all that is happening, we can get our question. The broadcast new question, is to show where am I going to go next. So things will receive that broadcast new question in order to start a next script. So what I'm going to do is broadcast new question so that we can start getting questions for our game to have. And now I'll talk about what happens when you get a new question. So random is a data, so you pick a random number. We're going to pick it between -5 and 5, so the possibility of going off the number line is low. So what we have to do is make a variable of random, set random to be picked between -5 and 5. We are then going to have the bat speak what this random is and give the player the directions of what they are to do in order to find their answers. So we are going to have the player say, move whatever that random number is that came up. So say, and then we're going to join two things together. So move, and then we're going to put the data random in because that constantly changes. The answer to the problem that we are going to be working on is now going to be whatever the current position was. So at the start it's 0. After that it's wherever the ladybug ends up. And then we're going to add that to whatever random number is picked. Now you have to pay attention when there's two things that you only pick to go into one of the spots and not two of them. So current position plus random. We are now going to broadcast where do I go? We have our question. We know how much we have to move. Where am I going to go? So when that is broadcast, this script now receives the where do I go. So once you move, it waits until the space key is pressed. So once the space key is pressed, you now are asked to enter your number. So if the answer is equal to the correct answer, then it says that you are correct and it adds 1 to your score. If the answer is not right, it'll say incorrect and change your score by negative. Move the sprite back to 0 to set it up again. It'll then give you a new question when you're incorrect. So this is how you end it as scores. So when score is equal to -1, you lose. Score equals 2, you win.